Before I ask you a couple of questions, I want you to take a moment, breathe in, and truly reflect about your happiness right now. Raise your hand if you are happy right this moment. Amazing. Now keep your hand up if you believe you've been happy throughout the day. Now keep your hand up if you know you're happy, because what you do mirrors exactly who you want to be in life. Oh, I see a lot of hands go down. Well, don't worry, that's completely normal, because this gap between who we are and who we want to be happens across 80% of the people, even to the best of us. Matthew McConaughey once realized that while the world saw him as this successful, easygoing star, he was becoming a version of himself that felt not real. So he did something crazy. He walked away from millions, and I mean millions of dollars in roles, just to stop being a version of himself that wasn't real. And the interesting part is, it wasn't that he suddenly changed who he wanted to be. No, he always knew. Because here's the thing, we don't act based on who we want to be. We act based on who we believe we are.
Think about the last time you said, I can't do it. Start a company, write a book, or perhaps stand up on a stage and talk to a bunch of people. Yeah, that was me about 10 minutes ago. Well, most of the time, that phrase is not about ability. It's about identity. In psychology, identity is not just a label. It's an internal system, a system that filters what feels possible, realistic, appropriate for someone like me. And you all know this feeling. If someone who loves running early in the morning wakes up at 5 a.m., they think, great, it's time to run. But if I ever manage to wake up at 5 a.m., my brain thinks something has gone terribly wrong. Or I'm still dreaming.
So here's the takeaway. If we see an action as part of who we are, we can do it easily, consistently, and almost effortlessly. If we don't, however, motivation comes and goes. It fluctuates, which is exactly why discipline fails. It's also why New Year's resolutions last about 3 weeks at best.
So, why does this happen? We will employ a scientific approach to this phenomenon, mostly because I'm a nerd, but also because it is very impressive what our brain is capable of doing. Our brain has something known as the default mode network, which essentially is just a narrative that you hold about yourself that tells you who you are. And the DMN does something really important. It filters reality. It highlights things that align with your identity and ignores those that do not. Pretty much because we behave in ways that align with that. It is basically like a search engine that your brain has installed that you did not know about. And the crazy part is, you installed it yourself. Through actions, through repetition, over time, but now it runs almost automatically. So, the next time you hesitate, the next time you say that you're waiting for the right moment to come, for permission to arrive, for the spark of interest to finally light again, remember, this is not a motivation problem.
Because from early childhood, we learn hierarchy. Who's in charge, who follows, who speaks. And we internalize those limits. There's a concept in social psychology called authority bias. It means that people tend to follow authority figures even when that feels wrong. A social psychologist, Pierre Bourdieu, had a word for this, habitus. These are the invisible rules about our place in the world that we internalize. And these limits really prevent us from becoming who we want to be. So, action doesn't start with ability, it starts with acceptance.
The problem is, acceptance is not constant. And it cannot arrive until you actually start doing stuff. It is basically a dead end. And there are a lot of historical examples where action started with defiance, not approval. Consider someone like Rosa Parks. At the moment of her refusal to give up her seat, she was not yet legitimized by institutions. Instead, her action triggered validation from the civil rights movement. Consistency was key.
So, picture this. You're in a meeting and somebody says a joke. An almost funny joke. The entire room goes dead silent, and everybody's thinking the same thing. Is it safe to laugh? And now one person breaks in laughter and everybody else joins in. Well, the joke didn't get any funnier. One person just gave the room permission.
And that is the pattern. You're basically waiting for an outcome that only action can produce, and that is a dead end. It's a bit like trying to get job experience for a job that requires job experience itself to get it. And this is a system. However, systems are not just rules, they are shared assumptions about who leads, who belongs, who can follow. And we internalize these rules simply because no one ever questions them. But we can change that. Research shows that if only about 25% of people start modeling a new behavior, the entire group can shift.
Why? Well, once enough people model new behavior, it becomes socially acceptable, simply because it lowers the psychological cost, like fear of embarrassment, rejection, or punishment. So the implication here is that change doesn't start with rules. It starts with people acting differently.
Great. So what do we do now? We know. In order for change to actually happen, we need to start asking a different question, not waiting for the time we're ready. Instead of saying, well, what will happen if I do something? Say, who do I become if I do not? And this applies beyond individuals. Do not say, I'm trying to become a runner, because trying keeps it optional. If you say, I'm becoming a runner, it is not an option anymore. It is a part of who you are, and you will not negotiate it every day. It is still not perfect. It is still not done, but you will just do it. Beyond individuals, in societies, in leaderships, in teams, do not tell people what to do. Show them who they can be. Do not tell students to just study. Instead, show them to think like a scientist. Tell them to build like an engineer or write like a writer. Because motivation sticks more than obligation. As Viktor Frankl argued, you cannot pursue the effort. You're searching for ambition, for meaning.
So let's reconsider. At the beginning, I asked you if what you do mirrors exactly who you want to become. Now I want you to ask a different question. Not what do I want to do, but who do I believe I am allowed to be? Because that answer is already shaping your life. Who you think you are determines what you dare to do. And what you dare to do determines the life you build, the people you meet, the rules you break, the roles you step into, and ultimately, the person you become.
Thank you very much.